Hello YouTube, Systemis here, and it's been a while since I've made educational type content showing production, stuff like that, but I figured it was a good time to make another video because I have some sample packs coming out. I wanted to show everyone how I personally get the most mileage out of my sample packs. So we're going to take a look at some of the samples in the packs and how to maximize their potential. So the most basic way to get some extra mileage out of a sample pack is to make new loops from the existing loops. So to start, let's grab a bass loop from the inspiration kit. So we'll open the sampler, go to the inspiration kit, and let's grab a bass loop. Just go like here. So we'll drop this in. And that loop is cool on its own, but we can add new loops to it and re-chop it and reorder it to make it more unique. So let's chop it up a little bit. We can take a cut here, cut that out. We can take this end piece, slice that, get the end piece over, have a little extra tail right there. And let's cut this. And let's get that there again. Then for the second half, like that. Let's also drag these over, get some more of the original loop in there. And now we can see how this sounds. Now it might sound kind of empty, so what we can do is get another loop and fill in the gaps with the new chops. So let's go back in and grab another loop. Let's go for this one. Now the first thing we need to do to get this to match is we have to drop it down a key because it is one above. It's a D sharp, the other one is just a D. And now let's drag it and chop it to fill in the gaps that the original loop is leaving behind. Let's drag it over to fill the gap. We can start it right there. And then we don't want to carry over too far here. You can cut that and cut that. We'll just cut that entire section out and we'll have the tail begin right there, just for the gap that's missing. We can clone that and do the same thing over here. Now there's still a gap, so we can get a third loop and continue filling the holes. Let's grab another loop around the same key and see what we can make happen. There's one, there's some Ds. Here's one, 76D. Now we really just need this spot filled right here, so we can try grabbing just the beginning, just putting it right there, putting it right there, and let's see how that sounds. Now we have a totally new loop created from the 3 samples that we started with, and there's infinite ways you can chop these up and rearrange them. I do this with a lot of the samples I grab, is I'll re-chop, rearrange, reorder, and stack them with new samples that they don't have to be the same key. You can change the key to make them fit with each other. And then from here, it just be EQing, because I know some of the basses overlapping, like these two overlap. So you just EQ it, pick one to prioritize, which is going to have the sub-frequency at any given time. And then you can render it out and then resample it even further. And this doesn't just work with basses, we can do this with synth loops as well. So let's go back into the sample pack. We're going to grab a synth loop. Let's go with one with the tail. Let's go with this one. So if you want to use this as it is and not chop it up, you could chop it up. But say we want to use it as it is and we want to add supplemental layers to it, we can go into the sample pack and grab more loops, and they might be a lead loop, but we can turn them into a more supplemental sound. So to start, since this is an A, we'll grab another sample in A. The A. This one works. And really, you can do this with any of them. So you don't really want to have 2 leads competing, so let's turn this into a more supplemental sound. We'll take off just the front. We'll take off the back and we're left with just this. And to make this even further of like a supplemental sound, we can go to the mixer. Everyone has these. You can add a reverb, you can add a delay, and really start to sculpt the sound to be like a background element. So we get the black hole, we can EQ it down a little bit. Then to keep building on the layers, we can duplicate it. So let's open that and we will clone. We'll drag in the new one. And then we're gonna reverse it. And we'll grab the exact same part, but the other half of it. So it'd be this section. And we can stack them together. And then we're gonna EQ it so that it's a little bit sharp because the frequencies are stacking up, but there's always gonna be EQing as you work with these. As you keep adding samples, you keep EQing and refining the tone. And if your sample, when you chop it, has clicking like that, it's really simple. Just grab smooth right here and then it will blend all the ends together. And you can do the same for this one. You can smooth both of them. So now the bell lead sample that we started with is now like a half forward time, half back time pad that is like super tonal, and it matches the lead. And you don't have to do this to match a sample. This sound right here could be your own synth lead. You can open Serum or some other VST and make a lead yourself, and you just want to supplement it. So you open the sample pack and you can get any sound like this, turn it into a pad of some kind, or just even like a tonal generator like this, which is forward and reverse, and then add the layer to synth to make it feel fuller and fill out the track sonically. And you don't always have to pick a sample that is the same key. You can definitely pick ones that are out of the same key and then tune them to fit. So let's do that. Let's grab a sample purposefully that doesn't fit. So we'll go to the loop section, G. We can grab this one. It really doesn't matter which one you grab. You can grab this one, and it's not gonna match because it's a G, and the original sample's an A, but we can make it fit. So for that, we're gonna have to go up 2 cents, or 200 cents. And then it should match. Well, if you don't want to be quite that fast, what we can do is we can grab it, we can time stretch it, and change everything about it. Really, it's going to change the entire feel of the sample. And now it totally fits a lot better because the same rhythm of the original, the lead that we have up here. And we can also send this to the same channel that we did the other pad. We can get a lot of reverb and EQ it down, and then it will blend in even more. So really unlimited how you can modify and reuse and repurpose all these loops. You can turn them into your own loops. You can start to develop your own sample library. Like you could render this. Now that it's stretched and it's repitched, you can render this and save it and use it as your own sample next time you're working on a track. You can start to build a library of sounds that you modified yourself to drag and drop things that are a little bit more to your style as opposed to just what the sample pack is providing to you. So next I also want to show how to work with things that are more simple tones. I have a granular pad pack, which is just like pads, basically. It's like 8-second tone collection. So I want to show some ways you can get some mileage out of those as well. So here's one of the pads that I've rendered. This is from my granular pack, and we'll take a listen to it. So the whole pack is mostly like this. It's a whole bunch of different tones and different keys that were made with granular synthesis. I really wanted to have my own personal collection of like pad tones I can grab and then repurpose, because it's always hard to make pads for me. I'd always struggle, so I was like, let me just make a pack of pads. But I also want to make it available for everyone else if anyone watching wanted to also pick up the pads for their own use as well. So they don't loop initially, but you can make them loop. That's why I have overhang. So it's set for 128, 8 seconds. So it's overhanging. The bar ends right here, but you have extra room to make it loops. You can slice off a little bit of the front, a little bit of the back, and then you can have it fit just like that. And then from here, we can make it loop. We can turn on the smoothing, and then it should loop as it goes across. And so then it's looping perfectly. And you can do this with any of the loops in the pack. You can have some leeway to pick where you want to slice it or you want to loop it. That's why I gave extra, so people can like pick their own loop points. And as you add reverb and delay, it becomes even more seamless. Something else you can do with these tones, since they're all in different keys, is that you can make chordal tones. So you can take individual notes and then stack them, and it will make a chord tone. So let's grab a couple of those and we can make a chord. So I have an A tone here. I have a G tone here. But if you play them together, it's going to make a chord. And that is a totally different feel for the track. If you want to have like an underlying pad, just a tone, versus a chord, the chord's going to be much more fuller, more tonal. And you can also customize it. Like if I want to change the key of these, I can just modify the sense and make it fit whatever chord I needed to. Really, any chord you need, you can make with stacking the tones. So another way you can get more mileage out of these is through synthesis. You can use them as tone sources for plugins. You can plug them into a VST. My favorite for pads is Faceplant. So I'm gonna open Faceplant. Open my side panel, Faceplant. There it is. Okay. Once we're here, we can then load in one of these pads as a granular source. Once you have the pad selected, we'll go with 12.1F. You can drag it in and then click on Granular Generator. This is going to load the pad as a granular source. Once you're here, you can modify the parameters to give some more life to it. So, for example, we can change the grain envelope. Give it more of an attack. We can change the amount of grains. Increase the window size. Make them go forward and backwards. Add some delay to it. And then once we're here, we can add an LFO, random, to the position in the pad. We can turn that amount up. And then we'll make the smoothness 100 so it smoothly ramps through the sample. If we want to go less, we can just turn down the amount of the movement here. Change the LFO amount so it moves less throughout the pad. We can add more grains. Do a different key. Now you're playing this almost like a synth, so the pad is turned into a synth source inside Faceplant. You don't have to do this just with the pad samples. You can make pads out of anything. So I have a personal folder that I use from the inspiration kit. So for example, pad 14. It's the exact same technique. It's making multiple grains and then modifying the position with the LFO on random. And this is taking synth tail 40 D sharp and turning it into a pad. Well, it's not even like a pad, it's more like just a tone generator because it's granular. You can do this with any sound in the pack, or any of the packs. You can drop them into a Faceplant or a Serum and then repurpose them directly through Granular Engine. We can do the same thing with the granular bass pack as well if you want to use a bass instead of a synth. So we'll do the same thing, except we're going to grab one of my granular bass samples. This is 300 granular bass samples. Very aggressive, very distorted, very glitchy. Really just, they all have a lot of harmonics, which I feel makes them really good for resampling. And most of them are F as well, because F is just a really good tone for bass. You can always change the key of it later. And you can really grab any of them. There's so many to pick from. Let's go like 99. So from here, you can do the exact same thing with the pad. You can pick the spot you want. You can adjust the grains and you can modify it to make a bass tone that you're looking for. And when you do the grains like this, super small, you can even like resample one shots out of every grain position. Like I could resample this into the DAW, record it, and then I have a one shot of it. So when you're getting individual grains this way, really, there's so many sounds that you can make with it. You can make a whole folder, just thousands and thousands of one shots, as each individual grain is captured and stored for like your use. And that's not even touching all the other controls, because this isn't really like a phase plan tutorial, but all these other controls, you can even add like more synthesis engines and like mix them together and just get totally crazy with it. So there's so much potential to like have these samples start as your source as opposed to like added into the track later as like an accent, which you could just drop in, with the bass loop. I could just grab one of these, like it's just gonna be the sample. Remember the bass loop we made earlier? Like that's a cool bass sound. I could have that go into the loop, or just use them as use them as parts of loops, like use the sample directly. But I personally like to use them like through the VSTs. And you can do this with Serum too as well, but I just personally like to use Phase Plant. So yeah. So hopefully that gives you all some ideas on how to use samples, get more from them. Even if you don't pick up my packs, just if you have samples of your own synth or bass or otherwise, even drums, you can do the same thing with drums. I love chopping up drum samples, but take these techniques and apply them to your samples, and you're gonna get so much more use out of them. So hopefully I was able to impart some knowledge, and maybe I'll have another tutorial out soon. And you can pick up these packs if you want my bass pack or my pad pack or the inspiration kit. You can get a bundle for them, all in the description below. So peace.